Good evening. I am Deputy Inspector Stephen Rohde, the Commanding Officer of the Police Academy Bureau. On behalf of Acting Police Commissioner Robert Waring and the entire Suffolk County Police Department, I'd like to welcome you to the department's 59th Annual Awards Ceremony. We would also like to welcome those who are unable to attend this evening, but who are with us remotely for the evening. It is great pride that the department has this opportunity to pay tribute to our officers, civilian employees, and members of the community whose actions deserve our gratitude, respect, and admiration. Just a few brief announcements before we begin. Please take note of the fire exits at the rear, and department personnel will be taking photos and video, and you are certainly more than welcome to take your own. And if I could ask you to just take a moment to turn your cell phones off or silence them, and if you can please stand as our honorees enter the theater, led by the Suffolk County Police Emerald Society Pipe Band. Please remain standing and direct your attention to our national colors at the front of the stage and join Police Officer and United States Army veteran Craig Vandergoot in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be followed by the singing of our national anthem by Sergeant Lauren Timpano.
Detail, present, arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by by the dawn's early light. What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, where so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The invocation this evening will be delivered by Suffolk County Police Department Chaplain Rabbi Aaron Benson.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, we praise you for bringing us together this evening. Brothers and sisters of all faiths and understanding, we are united in our common purpose to be here, the obligation to serve, to stand up for the orphan, the widow, the stranger, all created in your image. We give thanks for our law enforcement community, our law enforcement family, who are already such a great blessing to our county and to our country. Tonight, we have the opportunity to give special blessing and thanks to you, O Lord, for these our honorees, these tireless servants of the law and servants of your justice, who, through their dedication and determination, have worked so diligently to make our community a safer and more secure and more dedicated to common purpose community. We pray that you should be with these honorees, with all the members of our law enforcement gathered with us this evening, with our elected and appointed officials, and most certainly with the families of our law enforcement agents who are here with us. May we be blessed to live in this great country, continue to lead by example, and always in the words of Isaiah the prophet, to be a light to the nations, to our nation. May we, the citizens of this great state and nation, hold dear the vision of the prophet Isaiah. Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore. As we say together, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Benson. Please be seated. We are honored to have a number of distinguished guests on hand with us this evening. It is my pleasure to introduce County Executive Ed Romaine, from the District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Ray Tierney, Suffolk County Comptroller John Kennedy, from the Suffolk County Legislature, from the 4th District, the Honorable Nick Caracappa, from the office of the 6th District, representing the Honorable Chad Lennon, Chief of Staff Stephanie Stafford. From the 7th District, the Honorable Dominic Thorne. From the 11th District, Deputy Presiding Officer, the Honorable Stephen J. Flotterin. From the 12th District, the Honorable Leslie Kennedy. From the 15th District, the Honorable Jason Richburg. And from the 16th District, the Honorable Rebecca Sannon. From the Suffolk County Police Department, Acting Police Commissioner Robert Waring. Deputy Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina. Deputy Police Commissioner Belinda Groneman. Chief of Patrol Jerry Hardy. Chief of Detectives Darrell Simmons. Chief of Operations Michael Romagnoli. Assistant Chief of Internal Affairs Milagros Soto. Deputy Chief of Detectives Stanley Grodsky. Assistant Police Commissioner Liz Dates. Medical Director and Chief Consulting Police Surgeon Dr. James Voswinkle, as well as the entire Police Department command staff, clergy, and medical personnel. From the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office, the Chief of Staff, Charles Lamadou. From the Suffolk County PBA, Vice President John Natt. From the Suffolk County Detectives Association, Trustee Glenn Perigo. From the Suffolk County Superior Officers Association, 2nd VP John Serrato. From the Suffolk County Association of Municipal Employees, Ben Chiamonti. And Christina Caldia. We would also like to acknowledge the board of the Suffolk County Police Foundation and thank them for their support of our officers and our department. We are also honored to have with us this evening the police families of Daniel P. Guido, Timothy J. Henkt, and Edwin Hernandez. As well as Department Medal of Honor recipient, retired Detective Dennis Delaney. At this time, please welcome our County Executive, Ed Romaine, who will address today's honorees.
To our honorees, I look at the medals. Extraordinary service, meritorious service, Purple Heart, Incident Award, and the rest of the awards. And I look out, and I know that when you first became a police officer, no one was looking to be a hero, but just to do your job. But in the course of doing the job, your sense of duty, your sense of honor, your sense of commitment has landed you here tonight to be awarded one of the high awards of this police department for your extraordinary service. You may not have thought you did anything special, but I've got to tell you, it is with great pride that everyone in this audience looks out at you for your service and for what you've accomplished. Tonight, you will be awarded the special recognition that you so justly deserve, and you will serve as an example to those who follow you. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, we will be graduating a class of new police officers, men and women, who will swear to do their duty as police officers. These are the men and women that are going to look to you, the leaders, those who lead with honor, with dignity, with commitment, with bravery, with meritorious service. All of the awards that I've named, and hopefully never the Purple Heart. but you all lead. You will be an example for those who follow you. Tonight, we celebrate your accomplishments. Tomorrow, those who graduate will look to you, the leaders of this police department. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service. God bless you, and may you always stay safe, and your families as well. Have a great night. This is your night. These are your awards. You've earned them through your commitment to this job. And those who follow you will learn from your example. May you have a great career, and may you always stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence tonight from our County Legislator, 3rd District, the Honorable James Massarella. Please welcome up Police Commissioner Robert Waring.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's awards ceremony. As your police commissioner, it is my honor and privilege to celebrate the achievements of dedicated men and women, both sworn and civilian, who serve our county. Tonight we gather to recognize those who have gone above and beyond in their service to our department and the public we serve. Tonight's awards are formal acknowledgments of the unwavering commitment, sacrifice, and dedication demonstrated by our outstanding officers and staff. This commitment is what makes Suffolk County among the safest places to live in the country and allows this department to stand out as one of the finest law enforcement agencies in the nation. On behalf of the Suffolk County Police Department and the residents of Suffolk County, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each of you. Your selfless efforts contribute to our safety and well-being. You have brought honor to yourselves, to your families, and to our police department. Being a police officer is a dangerous and challenging job. Every day comes with risks and responding to the unknown. We will hear stories of extreme bravery, exceptional police work, and life-saving actions by tonight's recipients. We also recognize and acknowledge the vital role played by our civilian staff, who are among the unsung heroes that serve our department. These dedicated individuals work tirelessly, behind the scenes, and often without fanfare. Additionally, we will honor 3 remarkable Suffolk County residents who acted heroically, coming to the aid of people in need. I would like to thank the Awards Committee and the Civilian Awards Committee, who have the difficult job of choosing which heroes to recognize. The care and dedication you take when selecting recipients each year is appreciated. And to the family and friends who are here tonight, thank you for your support. To all of tonight's honorees, congratulations. I am proud of you, and it is my honor and privilege to be your police commissioner. Your actions and efforts demonstrate the true meaning of public service. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will now begin our presentation of awards, which will be read by Sergeant Michael Drew and Sergeant Konrad Wojciechowski from the Police Academy Bureau.
On May 11th, 2023, 6 precinct officers were conducting surveillance of a home in the Coram area after receiving information that a wanted subject for an armed robbery was inside of the residence. The subject exited the home, and upon seeing officers, he fled. Officer Lafauci pursued the suspect on foot, and the suspect fired 2 shots, striking the officer in the right thigh. Without hesitation, Sergeant Ferrara and Detective Sullivan applied Sergeant Ferrara's belt as a tourniquet to Officer Lafauci's leg in an attempt to control the bleeding. Detective Sullivan also made radio notifications about the fleeing suspect's description, direction, and possible location. Sergeant Ferrara coordinated a rapid emergency transport. Officer Gall quickly responded in his marked patrol vehicle and applied his department-issued tourniquet to Officer Lafauci's leg before all 3 loaded him into Sergeant Ferrara's police vehicle for transport. Detective Staubitz, who is also a member of the department's MedCat team, quickly responded to the incident location, entered the transport vehicle, and applied an additional tourniquet to the leg. He also utilized a clotting agent to control the bleeding. Officer Gohl safely transported Officer LaFauci to the Stony Brook University Hospital, while Detective Staubitz provided continuous assessment and treatment. The suspect was taken into custody a short time after the shooting. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Sergeant David Ferrara. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Police Officer Douglas Gohl. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Police Officer Gerald Iannone. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Detective Kevin Staubitz. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Detective Sean Sullivan. For the Bravery Silver Medal, Purple Heart Medal, and 6th Precinct Cop of the Year Award, Police Officer Michael LaFauci.
In June of 2023, shortly before noon, Detective Randy Waheed, who was a police officer at the time, and Officer Mark Pav were working in the 1st Precinct when a sector car broadcast information, including the location and description of a wanted subject. The subject was wanted by 1st Squad detectives for 2 recent incidents involving a handgun and was observed in the North Amityville area. The officers responded and began canvassing the area with other officers. A further notification advised that the subject had possibly run into his residence, whereupon the officers and Sergeant DiGirolamo situated themselves on an adjacent street to help contain the subject. A short time later, they observed the subject jumping a fence, and they immediately gave chase. Officers Castillo and Coy, who responded to the foot pursuit, began approaching from the opposite direction. Detective Waheed, upon entering the yard, observed the subject take a kneeling position near the front corner of the house with a handgun pointed at him. The subject fired the weapon in the direction of Detective Waheed and several others. Officer Waheed returned fire, striking the subject several times, whereupon the subject laid on the ground and dropped the gun, just as Officers Castillo and Coy were also upon him. Detective Waheed approached and handcuffed the subject, while Officer Pav secured the weapon. These officers, along with other responding units, then immediately began administering emergency first aid on the subject, who was ultimately airlifted to Stony Brook Hospital and made a full recovery from his injuries. He was charged with attempted murder, first, and other additional charges. The Bravery Gold Medal, Police Officer Joaquin Castillo. Bravery Gold Medal, Police Officer Nicholas Coy. Combat Gold Medal, Sergeant Joseph DiGirolamo. Combat Gold Medal, Police Officer Mark Pav. Combat Gold Medal, Detective Randy Waheed.
In October of 2021, Officer Justin DiMatteo, assigned to the 6th Precinct, responded to a call in Port Jefferson Station for a report an off-duty NYPD officer who was threatening suicide. This suicidal male was armed with a gun and had already fired a shot inside of his residence. Upon arrival, Officer DiMatteo quickly spoke to family members who are now evacuating the residence. He confirmed the male was on the 2nd floor and was in fact armed. Officer DiMatteo quickly located the armed male and from a position of cover no more than 15 feet away began engaging the man in conversation in an attempt to defuse the situation. Officer DiMatteo, through his calm and empathetic demeanor, reassured the man that his life mattered. During this time, Officer Juan Valdez, assigned to the emergency service section, also arrived on the scene to further assist with the situation. Officer DiMatteo built a rapport with the male and continued to speak with him and keep him engaged for about 2 hours, until finally turning negotiations over to Officer Valdez. Officer Valdez continued to calm the man and explain the nature of programs such as Save a Warrior that help military veterans and first responders dealing with mental health issues. Officer Valdez continually assured the male that all hope was not lost and that his children needed him in their lives. After nearly 3 hours of continuous negotiations, and through the courageous and compassionate efforts of both officers, the male surrendered and was taken to custody without incident. For the Exceptional Meritorious Award, Police Officer Justin DiMatteo. For the Exceptional Meritorious Award, Police Officer Juan Valdez.
On July 4th, 2022, Officers Berube and Lavrowski were working a 9 to 7 tour in the Huntington Station area. Shortly after midnight, they were dispatched to a call of a residential fire. They arrived to find a working structure fire with the rear of the house fully engulfed in flames. They were immediately notified by other residents that their 71-year-old father was still inside the house. The officers, along with the Huntington Manor firemen, attempted to enter through the front door, but were driven back by flames and heavy smoke condition. They attempted to get under the smoke by getting down low and tried yelling out to the missing resident. Getting no response, they exited the burning structure. Once outside, they confirmed with family members where the father was last seen and entered the house again in a determined attempt to locate him. Knowing that the situation was becoming more dire and as the fire was now spreading to the front of the house, the officers were alerted by the Huntington Manor fireman that he had found the man at the top of the staircase. The officers joined him, and together the three of them were able to extricate him from the burning house. The Exceptional Meritorious Award, Police Officer Matthew Berube. The Exceptional Meritorious Award, Police Officer Michael Lavrovsky.
(2023) Officers Eckert, Abriola, Kendrick, and Kopczynski responded to a call of a boat explosion with a person trapped. Upon the officers' arrival, they observed the boat, which had sustained significant damage from what appeared to be a massive explosion. The top of the sailboat had collapsed. The vessel was taking on water, and the officers heard a victim screaming in pain, who was apparently trapped underneath a significant amount of debris. The officers also noticed a strong odor of gas and identified the hazardous sources as a propane tank and generator, which Officer Abriola and Officer Eckert promptly and safely were removed from the scene to eliminate any additional explosions. Even as the boat continued to take on water, the officers were able to extricate the male victim, who was promptly transported to Stony Brook University Hospital for immediate treatment of his life-threatening injuries. For the Exceptional Meritorious Award, Police Officer Michael Abriola. For the Exceptional Meritorious Award, Police Officer Thomas Eckert. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Police Officer Scott Kendrick. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Police Officer Cody Kopczynski.
In June of 2023, Officer Edward Petrie was working at midnight in Patrol Unit 512. Around 5 a.m., he responded to a report of a car accident at the Mascot Dock and Marina in Patchogue. The 911 caller stated that a vehicle had driven off the dock into the Patchogue Bay. Upon arrival, Officer Petrie could see a vehicle partially submerged and was told by witnesses that nobody had exited the vehicle. Officer Petrie quickly radioed for additional resources as he could see the vehicle taking on water and drifting from the shoreline. Realizing that immediate life-saving action was necessary, Officer Petrie secured a life ring from his vehicle and fearlessly jumped off the dock into the dark water. Within moments, he was joined with a first responder from the Patchogue Fire Department who also swam out to assist. The men were able to break the rear driver's side window in order to look for occupants. With the vehicle now becoming submerged, Officer Petrie drove below the surface, entered the vehicle through the broken window, and was able to safely extract the driver. Officer Petrie was unable to determine if there were other occupants, but then swam back to the vehicle and dove down again to inspect the car's interior, where he confirmed the vehicle to be empty. By the time he returned to shore, the driver was calm enough to confirm that nobody else was in the car. Both Officer Petrie and the vehicle operator were transported to the Long Island Community Hospital for medical treatment. Officer Petrie received stitches on his right hand for injuries sustained in the rescue effort. Officer Petrie is not here tonight, but he's being awarded the Exceptional Meritorious Award at a later date.
In August 2023, Suffolk County Police homicide detectives went to a residence in Ridge to investigate a murder that occurred in Central Islip. While interviewing a friend of the suspect who lived at the residence, detectives learned that the suspect was inside of the house. Detectives directed the friend, as well as the children who were in the residence, out of the house. The suspect appeared from a room armed with a handgun and fired numerous shots at the detectives. The detectives backed out of the house. One of the shots the suspect fired went through the wall, striking a 3-year-old child in the next apartment. Police officer Christian Hernandez and Detective Luis Cabrera worked together to remove the child from this dangerous scene, provide life-saving medical care, and transport the child to the hospital where she underwent surgery and survived. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Detective Luis Cabrera. For the Meritorious Police Service Award and 7th Precinct Cop of the Year Award, Police Officer Christian Hernandez.
In September 2023, Officers Anthony Londoro and Jonathan Jensen, assigned to the Emergency Services Section, responded to a call of an occupied vehicle which drove into the water at the Patchogue Marina. Upon arrival, they observed the white vehicle partially submerged and continuing to sink deeper into the water. Civilians on the scene advised them that a female occupant was inside the vehicle. They quickly equipped themselves with several tools they might need and jumped into the water. Using their water rescue training, they broke the rear window of the vehicle to depressurize it, but could not open any of the doors. They proceeded to break the front windshield and made contact with the occupant. She was uncooperative and made it apparent that she had been attempting suicide. The officers were able to pull the woman from the vehicle and, with the assistance of several civilians, brought her back to the shore. She was transported to a nearby hospital for evaluation and treatment. The Meritorious Police Service Award and the Special Patrol Bureau Cop of the Year, Police Officer Jonathan Jensen. Meritorious Police Service Award and Special Patrol Bureau Cop of the Year, Police Officer Anthony Londoro.
In April 2022, police officer Shane Wild and Sergeant Stephen Caponia, who was a police officer assigned to the 2nd Precinct at the time, were dispatched to a house fire in Elwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were 2 elderly residents still inside the fully engulfed home. Police Officer Wild and Caponia worked together to quickly retrieve a ladder from a neighbor to reach a bedroom window while the elderly female was screaming. Both officers climbed the ladder and were able to use their strength to pull the female off the floor and out of the window while black smoke and flames filled the room. Both officers were transported to the hospital and were treated for smoke inhalation. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Sergeant Stephen Caponia. For the Meritorious Police Service Award, Police Officer Shane Wild.
In November of 2022, Officer Cassio and his wife Nicole were driving on the Side to Coast Parkway shortly after midnight when they came upon a motor vehicle crash. They observed multiple victims laying on the right shoulder of the roadway. Officer Cassio safely parked his vehicle, and along with his wife, they proceeded to assess the crash victims, to determine the severity of their injuries, and to assist in any way they could. While doing this, Nicole Cassio observed a female victim with severe injuries to both legs. They appeared to be amputated. Officer Cassio placed a call to 911, providing essential information on the location and the nature and severity of the injuries. He requested aviation units and units with other tourniquets to respond. He applied his belt as a temporary tourniquet to one of the victim's legs as Nicole stopped traffic on the parkway for scene safety. She acquired a second belt from one of the stopped motorists, which Officer Cassio applied to the victim's other leg, which was also bleeding heavily. He was able to maintain tension on both tourniquets until additional units and rescue personnel arrived. The victim received further treatment at the scene before being transported to Stony Brook Hospital, where she survived. Had it not been for the actions and resourcefulness of both nominees, it is likely that the victim would have succumbed to her injuries. The Meritorious Police Service Award, Police Officer William Cassio. The Public Service Award, Civilian Nicole Cassio.
On April 14, 2023, Detective Randy Waheed, who was a police officer at the time of the incident, and Police Officer Mark Pav were assigned to the 1st Precinct Crime Section and conducting anti-crime patrol in the Lindenhurst area. At approximately 2 a.m., the officers heard the dispatcher broadcast the call of a house fire in the vicinity of Catskill Avenue and 44th Street in Lindenhurst. Upon their quick arrival in the area, the officers promptly observed heavy smoke and flames coming from the 1st floor of the 2-story dwelling. Intense flames had already fully engulfed the front door, making it unpassable. The officers then rapidly surveyed the rest of the residence and observed multiple occupants trapped on the 2nd floor rear of the location. Detective Waheed and Officer Pav were able to quickly locate a ladder next to a shed in the yard and positioned it against the house towards the window where the home's occupants were located. Unfortunately, The ladder was not tall enough to completely access the second floor window, and the dwelling was starting to be completely overwhelmed with fire and smoke. These facts necessitated Detective Wahid climbing the ladder so he could carry or guide the occupants' escape from the dwelling. Together, Officer Wahid and Pav were able to safely and expeditiously remove an adult male, adult female pregnant, 3 children, and a dog from the residence unharmed. If not for the quick response, determination, and calm demeanor during a dangerous and rapidly deteriorating environment, the incident very well may have resulted in a tragedy for those trapped on the second floor. For the Exceptional Police Service Award, Police Officer Mark Pav. For the Exceptional Police Service Award, Detective Randy Wahid.
In February of 2022, Officers Justin Muller and Craig Hoffer were partners assigned to the 3rd Precinct in the central Islip-Brentwood area. While patrolling the area, the officers recognized an individual who they knew had a suspended license and a history of possessing and selling drugs. They stopped the subject and arrested him after he admitted to having narcotics in his vehicle. While at the 3rd Precinct processing the arrest, the officers did not rest on their laurels. They continued to develop a rapport with the male and got him talking. Using their vast knowledge of their sector and the community they served, they were able to gather vital information regarding illegal firearms and ammunition in the area. As a result of their persistent efforts, an illegal gun operation was shut down, resulting in ghost guns, ammunition, and gun-making equipment being taken off the street. The Exceptional Police Service Award, Police Officer Craig Hoffer. The Exceptional Police Service Award, Police Officer Justin Muller.
Police Officer James Garside has demonstrated a high level of professionalism, attention to detail, and dedication to the Suffolk County Police Department. Police Officer Garside recently designed a map of the Suffolk Crime Lab and wrote a detailed evidence procedure which assisted officers in improving the efficiency and accuracy of operations. His attention to detail and meticulous approach to designing the map has ensured it accurately reflects the layout of the lab and provides a clear and concise guide for police officers and other personnel. His commitment to best practices has been instrumental in developing this procedure, which has received positive feedback from colleagues and superiors alike. For the Special Service Award, Police Officer James Garside.
In June of 2022, shortly after 10 p.m., a vehicle accidentally drove off the dock into the water of Patchogue Bay. Anthony Zonger, who was sitting in his car on the opposite side of the dock, was alerted by the loud crashing sound and quickly responded to its source. He saw that the vehicle which he had observed a short time before was now in the water. Without hesitation, Mr. Zonger jumped into the water and swam towards the vehicle to assist any occupants who might be trapped inside. He observed a single occupant struggling to open her door in order to escape. He was able to force the door open and assist the occupants away from the vehicle seconds before the car became fully submerged. They both made their way back safely to shore. The Public Service Award, Civilian Anthony Zonger. Mr. Zonger is not here tonight. He will accept his award at a later date.
Joseph Koch, a retired NYPD detective, was exercising within an LA Fitness location when he observed an altercation between two individuals. When he observed one of those individuals slash the other's neck with a knife, he immediately intervened to prevent further harm, whereupon the individual engaged Mr. Koch in a physical altercation. Their struggle went to the ground and was ongoing when the subject removed a firearm that he had secreted on his person and fired a shot which lodged in the wall. Mr. Koch was able to gain control of the individual and prevent him from discharging the firearm again, and was able to maintain control over him for several minutes until First Precinct officers responded and placed him in custody. Retired Detective Joseph Koch's swift and brave response to this incident likely prevented the suspect from causing greater harm within this location, crowded with about 100 patrons at the time, and assisted in securing a criminal conviction of the suspect. For the Public Service Award, retired NYPD Detective Joseph Koch.
Police Officer Joaquin Castillo and Police Officer Nicholas Coy have consistently performed their duties with overall excellence throughout calendar year 2023. They worked together to make numerous proactive arrests that resulted in the seizure of 5 loaded firearms, as well as large quantities of dangerous narcotics. A traffic stop led to the arrest of 3 individuals for possession of 2 loaded 9mm handguns, 8.7 grams of cocaine, along with other drug paraphernalia. During a street encounter with 2 other individuals, the officers seized a loaded 9mm handgun, a loaded .380 caliber handgun, 19 neglected pit bull puppies who were secured and sent to a local animal hospital, and they also ensured the well-being of a 2-year-old child who was placed in the custody of Child Protective Services. The 2 individuals involved in this encounter were arrested and faced numerous criminal charges. On another occasion, Officers Castillo and Coy conducted a traffic stop of an individual who had just committed a shooting, and they successfully took that individual into custody. The subject was found to be in possession of a stolen .380 caliber handgun and was charged with reckless endangerment, criminal possession of a weapon, criminal possession of stolen property. Officer Castillo and Coy were also able to develop a confidential informant who worked with the 1st Precinct Street Operations Team detectives to uncover information that resulted in the execution of a search warrant at a residence involved in narcotics trafficking. That search warrant resulted in the arrest of 2 individuals and the seizure of large quantities of crack cocaine, fentanyl, alprazolam, U.S. currency, and other drug paraphernalia. First Precinct Cop of the Year, Police Officer Joaquin Castillo. First Precinct Cop of the Year, Police Officer Nicholas Coy.
Police Officer Claudio Barrios has been a member of the Suffolk County Police Department since October of 2019 and is assigned to patrol in the 2nd Precinct. While on duty, Officer Barrios responded to a 911 call of an 80-year-old male drowning in an in-ground swimming pool. Upon arrival, the male was observed face down at the bottom of the pool. Without hesitation, Officer Barrios quickly removed his gun belt and jumped into the water. He swam to the bottom of the pool to assist the male and grabbed him by his shoulders. Officer Barrios was able to lift the male to the waterline and the side of the pool so that other arriving officers could assist him in pulling the victim out of the water. Once the male was out of the water, Officer Barrios and assisting officers determined the male was not breathing and had no pulse. They started CPR and were able to eventually regain a pulse from the drowning victim, who was then transported by fire department ambulance to the hospital with serious injuries. For the 2nd Precinct Cop of the Year Award, Police Officer Claudio Barrios.
Police Officers John Ty, Officer Christopher Nee, and Jeremy Reichling of the 3rd Precinct's Anti-Crime Team have been working as a cohesive and effective team since February of 2023. Collectively, they have had a profound and lasting impact on the neighborhoods of the 3rd Precinct. Their intense work ethic, coupled with their expertise in developing informants and extracting information from community members, is the driving force behind this team's success. They go above and beyond. In 2023, they took 11 illegal handguns off the street of Suffolk County and out of the hands of potentially violent offenders. Their 61 felony drug arrests resulted in many dangerous and deadly drugs being removed from our communities. In 2023, Officer John Ty made 62 arrests, 39 for felonies. These arrests included 25 subjects for felony drug possession, 1 suspect for burglary, and 5 subjects with 5 separate firearms. In 2023, Officer Christopher Nee made 53 arrests, including 33 for felony charges. Of those arrests, 16 were for felony drug possession, 7 for violent robbery offenses, 5 were for burglaries, and 2 were for weapon offenses. Officer Jeremy Reichling was also very active in 2023. He made 53 arrests, 37 of those being felonies, and of those arrests, 20 were for felony drug possession, 3 for violent robberies, and 2 for illegal firearms. 3rd Precinct Cop of the Year, Police Officer Christopher Nee. Third Precinct Cop of the Year, and now Detective Jeremy Reichling. Third Precinct Cop of the Year, Police Officer John Ty.
Police Officer Dale Warwick is receiving the 4th Precinct Cop of the Year Award for his outstanding work in 2023. During 2023, Officer Warwick distinguished himself not only through his body of his work, but during 2 extremely dangerous encounters. In the first incident, in January of 2023, Officer Warwick responded to a call of a man with a gun in Smithtown. Upon his arrival, he observed the complainant struggling with a suspect in the rear of a Cadillac. He could also hear the complainant yelling that the suspect had a gun. Officer Warwick immediately engaged and began to secure the suspect and the weapon. With the assistance of Officer Dan Pellegrino, Officer Warwick was able to remove a .32 caliber semi-automatic pistol from the subject and place him under arrest. Due to the actions of Officer Warwick and others, this dangerous suspect was quickly apprehended without the use of deadly physical force, without injury to anyone involved, and an illegal firearm was taken off the streets. The second incident occurred in December of 2023. Officers from the 4th Precinct, including Officer Warwick, responded to a call of a suicidal man armed with a gun in Ronkonkoma. Officer Warwick was one of the precinct's rifle-trained operators that day and rushed to the scene. As officers set up a perimeter, Officer Warwick deployed his rifle, secured a position of cover, and kept his sights on the residents. Within moments, a male armed with a handgun exited the home and fired the weapon. Officer Warwick returned fire with his rifle, causing the subject to retreat into his home without any further gunfire involving the police. Emergency service officers later entered the home and found the male deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. No officers were hurt in this incident. For the 4th Precinct Cop of the Year Award, Police Officer Dale Warwick.
In 2023, Police Officer Mateo Puentes and Police Officer Lauren Handy were assigned to the 5th Precinct Community Support Unit, as well as the Whiskey Detail, which was designed to enhance community safety and foster positive relationships with local businesses in the hamlets of Bellport, Patchogue, and Sayville. Police Officer Puentes and Police Officer Handy were tasked with addressing community concerns such as homelessness, drug activity, quality of life issues, and overall crime. They were able to utilize department and private resources to help numerous homeless people build relationships with local businesses and address issues such as open alcohol and disorderly conduct through arrest and summonses. During the 11-week whiskey detail, Officer Puentes and Handy issued 684 tickets and effected 25 arrests. Their actions also led to the arrest of an individual carrying a loaded, defaced handgun. For the year, they issued over 2,000 summonses and arrested 48 individuals. 5th Precinct Cop of the Year, Police Officer Lauren Handy. Fifth Precinct Cop of the Year, Police Officer Mateo Puentes.
Police Officer Matthew White joined the Suffolk County Police Department in October 2014 and transferred to the Highway Enforcement Section in March of 2019. Since then, he has been an invaluable member of the Highway Patrol Bureau. There's no greater advocate for the Highway Patrol Bureau than Police Officer White. He takes pride in being a Highway Patrol officer and promotes the Bureau to police officers from outside commands to recruit future members. He's a tireless worker who routinely responds far beyond his assigned post to handle assignments and assist fellow officers. Regarding traffic enforcement, Police Officer White focuses his efforts on the violations which most affect the safety on our roads. He's one of the most productive members of the Highway Enforcement Section, issuing over 5,000 traffic tickets during his tenure in Highway Patrol, with 70% of these being for moving violations. During 2023, he issued a total of 816 traffic tickets, 470 of which were for speeding violations. For the Highway Patrol Bureau Cop of the Year Award, Police Officer Matthew White.
In September of 2022, Officers Raymond Cairo, Robert Jenkins, and Kevin Butler were assigned to Marine Kilo, a Marine Bureau vessel operating out of Timber Point and covering waterways on the South Shore of Long Island, including the Atlantic Ocean. The Marine Bureau always assigns 3 officers to a vessel when a small craft advisory is in effect. A small craft advisory is issued by the National Weather Service when winds reach dangerous speeds, such as was the case on this date. At 5:25 p.m., Marine Kilo was assigned to a call of a disabled jet ski in the Atlantic Ocean, approximately 3/4 of a mile south of Cedar Beach. 2 males were reportedly in the water. Passing through the Fire Island Inlet and entering the ocean, they encountered wave heights of up to 10 feet. Guided by an SCPD aviation unit, Marine Kilo found the jet ski with 2 individuals holding onto it. Despite being blown further out to sea by the strong winds from the north, the individuals were brought safely on board the police vessel, and the jet ski was taken under tow to Captree Boat Ramp. Their actions in responding to this dangerous assignment saved the lives of these 2 individuals. Marine Bureau Cop of the Year, Police Officer Kevin Butler. Marine Bureau Cop of the Year, Police Officer Raymond Cairo. Accepting on his behalf is his daughter, Emma. Marine Bureau Cop of the Year, Police Officer Robert Jenkins.
During their time in the Warrants Enforcement Section, Officer Antoniadis and Detective Seda have demonstrated a dedicated and self-motivated work ethic. They have prioritized gang members and violent criminals, consistently utilizing intensive surveillance, social media, and informants in order to effectively conduct their investigations. These target investigations have led to the recovery of 18 illegal firearms, 38 individuals arrested on felony drug charges, and 64 total felony arrests. They have also successfully located and apprehended an individual wanted for murder out of Nassau County. Numerous search warrants have been executed as a result of information and informants cultivated by Officer Antoniadis and Seda, one of which resulted in the seizure of 1.5 kilograms of cocaine, 1 kilogram of fentanyl, and 5 illegal handguns. Another kilogram of cocaine was recovered as a result of a targeted traffic stop. Not only did the above officers conduct their own investigations, but they were imperative to the success of a long-term gang investigation conducted by the Gun Crime Reduction Unit, which focused on known blood gang members. Officer Antoniadis and Seda supplied intelligence, identified suspects, and apprehended subjects of the investigation, which aided in the successful apprehension of 18 gang members. Those 18 gang members were subsequently charged with 148 counts of crimes, which included murder, attempted murder, conspiracy, robbery, and numerous firearm offenses. Officer Antoniadis and Detective Seda take pride in their work and have a great reputation around the county. They have been called on to assist numerous detective squads as well as narcotics, in identifying and apprehending violent criminals. Their outstanding work has not only resulted in the seizure of numerous illegal firearms from the streets of Suffolk County, but has also led to successful prosecutions of a multitude of violent gang members. For the Warrant Enforcement Section Cop of the Year Award, Police Officer John Antonitis. Not present today, also Detective Alexander Seda.
In October 2023, Detective Langella was assigned a burglary first investigation at a residence in the Mastic Beach area. The victim, an elderly female, reported that an unknown male entered her residence through a window and sexually assaulted her. About 1 week later, Detective Peterson was assigned to a burglary first in the same vicinity. This victim, also an elderly female, reported that an unknown male entered her residence, assaulted her, and attempted to sexually assault her. Both nominees, in collaboration with the entire 7th Squad and outside commands and agencies, conducted an intense and thorough investigation into the two burglaries, which included the recovery of evidence, searching for video, and interviews of potential witnesses and suspects. Through the combined efforts of the two nominees, a suspect was identified. Detective Peterson was then notified that DNA recovered from the second victim was a positive match to the suspect, and an intensive search was begun. The subject was located and placed under arrest, charged with burglary first and an active parole warrant. At the 7th Precinct, Detectives Langella and Peterson were able to obtain a rights statement where he admitted to his involvement with both burglaries. Due to the thorough and exhaustive efforts of both detectives, along with the assistance of others, a violent felon was identified and apprehended in a short time before he could commit additional burglaries. Detective of the Year, Detective Michael Langella. Detective of the Year, Detective Eric Peterson.
Christopher Delvecchio began his career as a dedicated employee with Suffolk County in 2002, working for DPW as a mechanic. Even in this position, he began helping out the Suffolk County Police Department installing graphics for the marked patrol units. In 2010, he left DPW and began working for Suffolk County Fire Rescue and Emergency Services as a maintenance mechanic, where he coordinated numerous logistical operations for FRES, not only during natural disasters, but planned events as well. In 2017, when the Suffolk County Police Department had a vacancy for a communications mechanic, in the technical services section, the department knew Christopher Delvecchio was the right man for the job. He was hired in December of 2017, promoted to Communications Mechanic 1, and began working for the technical service section. Chris hit the ground running. He was an immediate asset to the new unit, as he brought with him years of connections he had made through the county, as well as dedicated work ethic and a good sense of humor. For years, Chris showed his value and motivated working style until November of 2020, when he suffered a massive life-threatening stroke. Meeting this challenge, Chris again showed his drive and tenacity and fought hard through his hospitalization and rehabilitation to return to work in June of 2021. Though not at full strength, Chris continued to be invaluable to the technical services section, contributing with his expertise and knowledge. To this day, even after suffering another medical setback in early 2024, Cristo Del Vecchio continues to be a loyal, dedicated, and driven employee. His love for his family, grandchildren, friends, co-workers, and job are unmatched. For the Edward Wisbauer Jr. Award, Communications Mechanic 2, Christopher Del Vecchio.
In October of 2021, emergency complaint operator Laura Magliano received a text message into the 911 system from an 11-year-old victim indicating that her stepfather had abused her. The victim did not want to give her home address, but ECO Magliano was able to keep the victim engaged long enough to get an approximate address, and patrol officers were dispatched. Initially, they were unable to locate her. ECO Magliano remained persistent and did not give up. She continued texting with the young victim until her exact location was determined. ECO Magliano then created a second call, and police were dispatched again. The victim was located and removed from danger. The victim's stepfather was ultimately arrested and put on trial. ECO Magliano testified at the trial, and the stepfather was convicted and now faces up to 50 years in prison. For her efforts in showing incredible compassion and empathy towards this young victim, and for assisting the District Attorney's Office with getting the conviction, ECO Laura Magliano is awarded the Special Service Award.
In March of 2006, John Trodden, a deacon with the Roman Catholic Diocese of Rockville Center, became a Suffolk County police chaplain. Since that time, he has served with distinction in the Suffolk County Police Department. Year after year, scores of people in the department, both sworn and civilian personnel, have come to him for both his wisdom and strength in difficult times and situations. What makes Deacon Trodden's contribution to the department even more remarkable is his ability and drive to minister even in the midst of his own illness. During years of battling with pulmonary disease and even after receiving a lung transplant, Deacon Trodden continued to serve the department and the people under his care. Ordinary individuals in these situations perhaps would have quit, but Deacon Trodden is no ordinary individual. His will to recover and remain healthy is always fueled by his steadfast dedication to his work and his calling. For the Special Service Award, Chaplain Deacon John Trodden.
The Suffolk County Police Department's helicopter mechanics are a group of highly trained, experienced, and dedicated individuals. Their mechanical training comes from various diverse backgrounds, including the United States Navy, the U.S. Marine Corps, Grumman Aircraft Production and Maintenance, as well as corporate and airline aviation maintenance. They hold FAA licenses to inspect and maintain the airframes, power plants, and complex electronics of the aviation section's helicopters. Their work spans the spectrum from minor to major inspections, routine maintenance and repairs, and ensuring compliance with all laws, rules, regulations, and the manufacturer's inspection schedules. They work days and evenings and are on call 24/7 to address any issues that arise to return helicopters back to service. In June 2022, these mechanics were tasked with a major inspection and overhaul of Helicopter 1, resulting in a complete refurbishment of the 10-year-old twin-engine helicopter. This refurbishment required a complete disassembly, repair, and reassembly of the helicopter and its engines to ensure proper function. This challenging effort, which took 13 months to complete, was hampered by pandemic-induced supply shortages and other difficulties by the county's cyber attack. Nonetheless, the mechanics worked diligently to accomplish this task, delivering a helicopter that was as good as new. It bears mentioning that this monumental undertaking was accomplished while simultaneously maintaining and inspecting the other 3 helicopters operated by the department. The professional attitude and attention to detail exhibited by the mechanics of the aviation section are exceptional and allow the flight crews to focus on their mission, confident in the reliability and integrity of the aircraft they fly. Their work behind the scenes facilitates all of the missions of the aviation section, and the people of Suffolk County are well served by their dedication. The Command Citation Award, Helicopter Mechanic Douglas Betts. Command Citation Award, Helicopter Mechanic Victor Camano. Command Citation Award, Helicopter Mechanic Joseph Helinski. Command Citation Award, Helicopter Mechanic Scott Simpson. Command Citation Award, Helicopter Mechanic Todd Wolf, who's not able to join us today.
Deputy Inspector John Hanley is a 44-year member of the police department. He started his career as a police officer in the 2nd Precinct and is currently assigned to the Chief of Patrol's office. Deputy Inspector Hanley has consistently demonstrated outstanding leadership, professionalism, and integrity while serving in a multitude of assignments through his career and also while taking on additional responsibilities, which include being a department designee for sexual harassment and discrimination complaints, as well as being named the department's first Title VI designee and compliance officer in 2017. As the commanding officer of the Communications Bureau, Deputy Inspector Hanley guided that bureau and the department through the $23 million upgrade of its public safety radio system. His efforts in this endeavor earned him department recognition in the form of a Special Service Award. Deputy Inspector Hanley served as the commanding officer of the Police Academy Bureau for 7 years, where he was responsible for recruit training, in-service training, and firearms training sections. He oversaw the initial training of several hundred police recruits, as well as the ongoing training of active members of the department. During his tenure, he helped to bring the department into substantial compliance with the U.S. Department of Justice mandated training for bias-free policing. This accomplishment garnered national attention and resulted in an invitation for the in-service training section to instruct the Ferguson, Missouri Police Department. During his distinguished career, Deputy Inspector Hanley has received 9 headquarters commendations for excellent police work, as well as a Special Service Award for his work in the Communications Bureau. Additionally, 4 commands under his supervision have received department citations for their accomplishments. He is also a graduate of the FBI National Academy Session 231. Deputy Inspector John Hanley continues to serve the department and the residents of Suffolk County and exhibits outstanding leadership through his enthusiasm, dedication to service, professionalism, and integrity. For the Daniel P. Guido Leadership Award, Deputy Inspector John Hanley Not present today, son Michael Hanley from Nassau County Police Department.
Police Officer James Anson co-founded 7th Precinct Community Unity, a nonprofit which raises money for underprivileged youth and families in the 7th Precinct. Along with his co-workers and supported by donations from businesses and individuals in the community, he organized a Thanksgiving food drive where they shopped and purchased and bagged enough food to feed over 800 needy families in the area. He assisted in the collection of toys, with over 2,000 toys given to children in need during the Christmas holidays, and he has played Santa at a holiday children's Christmas breakfast. Officer Anson is also the moving force behind the 7th Precinct charter fishing trips, which have taken over 65 local children in need out on a charter boat for an enjoyable experience learning how to fish. He has organized or participated in pumpkin picking, roller skating, bowling, and other activities which provide safe and constructive activities for youth in the local communities. The 7th Precinct Community Unity makes many of the aforementioned possible. Officer Anson is a thoughtful and dedicated member of the 7th Precinct Community-Oriented Police Enforcement Unit who has gained the respect and confidence of many families, groups, and community leaders. The Timothy J. Hank Public Service Award, Police Officer James Anson.
Throughout 2023, Police Officer Anthony Nunziata consistently demonstrated his commitment to traffic safety and law enforcement in support of reducing injuries and fatalities on Suffolk County roadways. Police Officer Nunziata, while working patrol in the West Babylon area, issued over 600 summonses, more than half being moving violations. Furthermore, Police Officer Nunziata had a total of 19 DWI arrests in 2023. Of which 13 were self-initiated. Police Officer Nunziata's DWI arrest activity, coupled with his summons activity, exemplify his support for the reduction of injuries and fatalities on our roadways. For the Edwin Hernandez Traffic Safety Enforcement Award, Police Officer Anthony Nunziata.
Police Officer Alyssa Cipolla has been a member of the department since 2016 and has been assigned to the 3rd Precinct. During her brief career, she has consistently demonstrated a level of commitment above and beyond what is asked of her, even as she is contended with overwhelming personal challenges. Beginning in 2019, her family faced a tremendous challenge as her mother's health severely declined, necessitating around-the-clock care from her and other family members. With her mother afflicted by loss of vision and gross motor skills, the family was thrust into a new reality when her mother's heart condition required the use of an LVAD device, an external device that kept her heart pumping through electrical or battery power. These circumstances endured for over 2 years until her mother received a heart transplant in June of 2021. Sadly, she passed away only a few short months later. Officer Cipolla continued to serve the community with unwavering dedication during this time. In a personal battle mirroring her mother's in the fall of 2022, Officer Cipolla faced her own life-threatening heart condition. Born with a bicuspid aortic valve, a condition she managed her entire life, she was extra mindful that something might be wrong when she began feeling lethargic and experiencing intermittent chest discomfort. After visiting her doctor, she was confronted with the reality that she was in immediate need of major open-heart surgery, or she would not live to see her 30th birthday. In November of 2022, She had double valve replacement surgery at Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan. Officer Cipolla faced her challenge with unwavering courage and determination. Her return to duty in June of 2023 was a moment of triumph, not only for her, but for the entire 3rd Precinct. Despite returning from a serious health scare, she could not be convinced to take a less demanding assignment and insisted on returning to her busy sector car. Her spirit, attitude, and dedication to her community exemplify the very best in our profession. The Police Commissioner's Extraordinary Service Award Medal, Police Officer Alyssa Cipolla.
Detective Mosby began his career with the department in 1985 as a community aide and became a police officer in January of 1988. After working for several years patrolling the 6th Precinct, he transferred to the Hate Crimes Unit in 1992. There, he was promoted to detective in August of 1993. He has now worked in the Hate Crimes Unit for 31 years. During that time, he has received the Detective of the Year Award in 2001 and 1 Meritorious Police Service Award, 2 department recognitions, and multiple letters of appreciation from community members and members of the public. In addition, Detective Mosby is a New York State DCJS certified instructor who has conducted countless lectures and many hours of instruction to various audiences, including K through 12 students, community groups, police academy recruit classes, in-service training, supervision school, and the civilian academy. He has attended community events and meetings of the Anti-Bias Task Force, Human Rights Commission, Anti-Defamation League, Jewish Advisory Board, Asian American Task Force, and many more. He has also represented the department in recruitment efforts in print, media, radio, and TV advertisements. He has pioneered most of the department's trainings, lectures, and presentations related to hate crimes for both department personnel and various community groups, and has helped shape the Police Academy's cultural sensitivity training for new recruits, which now comprises of 2 days of training for each recruit class. Detective James Mosby has routinely and professionally taken on many responsibilities as an investigator, a teacher, a mentor, a public relations officer, a role model, doing this all with grace and dignity. He has been described as an excellent representative of the Suffolk County Police Department. Every day he's working with an unwavering work ethic and is a major reason why the Hate Crimes Unit is a success it is today. For the Commissioner's Career Achievement Award, Detective James Mosby.
During calendar year 2023, the members of the 1st Precinct Community Support Unit worked hard to improve the safety and quality of life for residents and visitors to Suffolk County, especially those residents in the 1st Precinct boundaries. Their dedication to service, determination, and work ethic clearly exemplifies the department's mission statement. Members of the 1st Precinct Community Support Unit use their knowledge of crime conditions, crime-prone locations, recidivists, and their relationship with members of the community and other investigative and patrol techniques to make a positive impact on reducing both violent crime as well as quality of life conditions. Their hard work led to the seizure of 14 illegal firearms, the execution of 11 search warrants, the seizure of $40,000 in U.S. currency, as well as dangerous narcotics. Their work resulted in 159 felony arrests, 609 total arrests, and 3,200 summonses issued. They assisted in investigating and apprehending a subject involved in a fatal hit and run and another subject wanted for 2 armed gas station robberies. They also investigated and suppressed illegal street racing activity. The 1st Precinct Community Support Unit collectively performed their duties in an outstanding manner and positively affected the community they served during calendar year 2023. They are awarded a Department Command Citation. They are Sergeant Brian Raziak, Sergeant Anthony Russo, Sergeant Andrew Young, Police Officer Sean Aragoni, Police Officer Corey Banfi, Police Officer Ryan Carroll, Police Officer Joaquin Castillo, Police Officer Cody Cornacchio, Police Officer Nicholas Coy, Police Officer Thomas Engelhardt, Detective Rachel Gorga, Police Officer Kevin Keene, Police Officer Andrew Madden, Police Officer Lucas McDonald, Detective Thomas Monaco, Detective Thomas O'Neill, Police Officer Michael Renner, Police Officer William Schneider, Detective Christian Vasquez, and Police Officer Angelica Venturella.
Please join me in a round of applause for all of tonight's award recipients. Please remain standing for the benediction, which will be delivered by Department Chaplain Deacon John Trodden.
Detail, attention! Cover.
Just to ask you to remember those officers who were killed in Charlotte, remember them in your prayers and their families. So I ask you now to bow your heads as we pray for God's blessing. Almighty and everlasting God, you who are the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and indeed the God of all of us, your great power and eternal wisdom embraces the universe. Watch over all in our police family and their families. Protect them from harm in the performance of their duties. Help them keep our streets and homes safe by day and by night, and we humbly ask your blessing on them for their loving care, because their duty that they perform for us is dangerous. Grant them your unending strength and courage in their daily assignments. Protect these brave men and women and unite them safely with their families after their tour is done. We thank you, Lord, for giving us these awardees here this evening and for their outstanding service to our department and going above and beyond the call of duty in the service to our department and to the county of Suffolk. God bless all who are gathered here this evening. God bless the great people of the county of Suffolk. God's blessing on our command staff and medical staff. And finally, without hesitation and without remorse and with great pride, we say, God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Deacon Trodden. Sergeant Timpano will now lead us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
That concludes our ceremony this evening, and thank you to members of our awards committee, the SCPD identification section and AVR units, as well as Suffolk County Community College. Please remain at your seats until the honorees and the pipe band have left the theater, and once again, congratulations to all.